It's Friday, 10th March 2023. Good afternoon. Welcome to Midday Live from our New South Studio, Seattle. This is our weekend in Accra. My name is Noble Crosby, and the bulletin is coming to you live from number 35, John Hammond Street. We're also live on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. We're live on DSTV channel 279. Let's take a look at the headlines with the bulletin this afternoon. Coming up this afternoon, human rights group Amnesty International condemns military raid in Ashaiman, calling for an expedited investigations into the incident. In business, over 400 containers filled with agro inputs stuck at the port over high import charges, raising fears about possible food shortage. We have the details shortly. On the international news, Xi Jinping begins historic third term as China's president. You're welcome to the program. If you're wondering why I'm looking like this, I'm dressed like a typical God priest here in the Greater Accra region. Let's start off the bulletin with a story. Some security-related matters, and security expert Professor Kwesi Aning has laid blames at the doorstep of Parliament for the continuous military excesses in the country. The Ashaiman military swoop is only one amongst many other cases of military brutalities that have resulted in loss of lives, and citizens for some time have suffered irreparable injuries. Whilst the Ghana Armed Forces say the operation was sanctioned, the security expert warns this could further lead to the emergence of extremist groups.
Challenging it. Parliament has not spoken. And the Parliamentary Committee on Defence and Interior, with a deputy who was a former uniformed personnel from the Ghana Police Service, ought to have shown leadership. And that leadership is lacking. You see, because the Deputy Defence Minister has shown political maturity and humility by saying, look, there were some unfortunate excesses. But it's Parliament, and particularly the Parliamentary Committee on Defence and Interior, that needs to invite people who did the planning to come and answer some tough questions, and to reassure the public post that conversation that, look, we've learned these lessons. Those who carried out the excesses will also be dealt with.
Well, still on the biggest news this week, Amnesty International Ghana has condemned the violence meted out by the military on civilians in Ashaiman. In a statement, the human rights group called for prompt, independent and thorough, as well as effective investigations into the unfortunate incident. Now, residents of Ashaiman, Tulaku and Taifa are still traumatized days after the invasion of the area by the military personnel. Let's have a conversation on the back of this. Let's speak with Genevieve Parlinting, who is the director of Amnesty International Ghana. He's joining me in the studio for some more perspectives on that, the demand that they're making, and how are they going to follow through to ensure that the compensation that they want victims of the military brutality to get actually got it. Genevieve, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off with this. You're making some demands. You want thorough investigations into the happenings at Ashaiman over the week.
Yes.
How do you want this done, the investigations? What agencies are we looking at, and what type of investigations do you want to be conducted into this?
So normally when we speak, thank you for having me, first of all. And so normally when we speak of investigations, it's normally SHRAJ, that's the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. They are the ones that the Ashaiman people need to go to. I hear they've already mobilized themselves, which is great. So they can communicate with SHRAJ if they have not done so already, so that SHRAJ can launch an investigation. SHRAJ can also lead in terms of compensation So it's very important because right now there are people that have been injured, people are in hospital. So, you know, there needs to be some form of support where medical bills are completely paid so that the victims do not have to foot the bills. And then also psychological support. I've been getting some calls this morning, some positive calls, speaking with the Ghana Psychological Association to see how best they can help so that we can go into Ashaiman and maybe speak to the victims, collect their contacts and see how they can support them with some form of therapy. Because for people like this to go through something like this, it's very daunting on them, and they definitely need some therapy. Yes.
You spoke about the kind of compensations that they would need, or that you want them to get, but you spoke about medical bills.
Yes.
How do they benefit directly from the kind of compensations beyond medical bills? What are we looking at?
Well, beyond medical bills, I think again they need to contact STRAJ, because STRAJ can definitely. There are some procedures to go through, and STRAJ can definitely demand that they are given more than that. I've seen some people have had fractures and some form of injuries, so they can definitely take a further step to demand some more compensation. Financial compensation, actually, yes.
We're seeing this in 2023. We're talking about Ghana's image as a nation that touts itself with the protection of human rights. Indeed, the president is a human rights lawyer. How does this happening in Ashaiman position Ghana on the international front when it comes to human rights protection?
Yeah, it's a disappointment. I understand that the Military High Command issued a directive and deployed their soldiers there. I understand they were trying to get answers, and unfortunately, innocent people have been hurt. And I think this is the issue here. Sometimes where do we, draw the barrier between when military intervenes and then when it's Ghana police? This is something Amnesty International Ghana really wants to engage with both military and Ghana police on, because I think due to the history we have in Ghana with military intervention here, I think we are used to that day-to-day activity. But when you go to other places, it's actually not the norm, where military just gets up and intervenes on issues. I believe the president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, and he should be concerned about this. I'm actually surprised he hasn't spoken a word on it yet, from what I know, unless I'm mistaken. I think they need to come out and say something. It's very important.
You think the silence of the president after the military invaded Ashaiman on Tuesday, or today is Friday, we've not heard anything from the president? What does it speak of? You were making a point about how disappointed you were that...
Yes, it's very disappointing, because knowing that he's the commander-in-chief, of the Ghana Armed Forces, knowing that, a life was lost. We mustn't, veer away from the fact that, this soldier, Imo Sharif, has also lost his life. I think at the State of Nation address, I was expecting the president to even address that before giving the address on the economy. The economy is important too, but I think the peace and safety of our citizens in Ghana is equally important, and people need to be reassured that, something will be done, and justice will be served.
Before you take leave of us, Amnesty International, the organization for the victims of such brutalities, maybe future ones too, how do they access your services, and what kind of services do you provide for them?
So Amnesty International Ghana is a human rights-based movement. We are not just in Ghana, we are in 60+ countries all over the world. And what happens is that we protect and intervene on victims that have been subject to human rights abuses. So we get calls every day, and feel free to call our office. We have a landline, which I don't know offhand, but we have a landline, and you can find us on social media. Don't hesitate to call us, and then we will help you liaise with the necessary authorities to get justice. Yes.
Genevieve, thank you so much for your time with us on the program. We've been speaking with Genevieve Patton-Ting, is the Director of Amnesty International here in the country. Let's move away from issues concerning security and now focus on health, because government says it has paid $6.5 million to UNICEF for supply of measles vaccine. Now there's shortage of vaccines dating back to November last year. The health minister, Kwekwe Menu, was answering questions on the shortage in Parliament.
The time when I went to the ministry, right, I was so bogged up. We're trying to negotiate with Gavi and our donors to actually continue to give us vaccines once we started paying for the arrears. We inherited over $15.8 million equivalent in vaccines. There was shortage of vaccines, and we even had recorded close to about 358 infections in that particular year, 2016. I have statistics here. Mr. Speaker, it's a very serious, public interest issue. The assurances I will give, and I can give for the first time in the chamber here, that this will not happen again. And I will advise that you help me in my advocacy to get adequate funding for vaccines, even the health insurance budget, right? So when we meet with committee, they have always been talking about it. And even in the chamber, it has come up. So that if Parliament approves adequately for us, we always have our budget well defined, we will be able to supply. And I'll assure you that whatever challenges that happened, I don't think we are going to face these possible challenges any longer. And I'll stand here and assure the House that within the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we will get vaccines, possibly even probably before that. Even probably before that. See, I can't lay my hands on specific dates, but even probably before that, we may get the vaccines, probably even earlier than the 2 weeks that I'm talking about. Throughout the period, we made close to $6.4 million equivalent to UNICEF, who supplies us the vaccines.
So that was the health minister speaking there in Parliament. Dr. Sebastian Sandari is a member of the Health Committee of Parliament and MP for Dafiama Bulsi Issa, joining us for some more updates. Doc, thank you for your time with us on the program. You asked the minister the question. Are you satisfied with the answers that he gave?
Yeah, thank you very much. I must say that the issue of the vaccine shortage is of serious public health concern, and my objective for asking that question really was to ensure that we have a timeline, or to be certain when these vaccines will be delivered. Yes, the minister answered, but I am not satisfied with the answer because he himself was not certain, even though he gave us a period 2 to 3 weeks, but it wasn't an answer that we would take for certainty. And for me, that is where my dissatisfaction is, because it so seems that even as a country, the government cannot say with certainty when these vaccines will be delivered. And that is very, very unfortunate for us as a people.
In the face of your dissatisfaction and with the responses that the minister gave, what more could the Health Committee of Parliament do in this situation? The minister has come, you asked him to come, he came, he has answered your questions. What more could the committee do?
Come again.
So what I'm asking is, the question was asked the minister provided answers for the questions that members of Parliament had to ask him and explanations over the shortage of vaccines in the country. You are not satisfied. What I'm asking is, the Health Committee in Parliament, what more could they do?
Yes, rightly so. After appearing before the entire House yesterday, I remember the discussion is around the leadership of the committee as to whether it is still very important and necessary for the minister to come before the committee. You know, the whole house is bigger than the committee. So leadership will give guidance to the rest of us, members of the Health Committee, whether it is so necessary for the minister to come before the committee, because basically the essence of coming before the committee is, for us to ask same or similar questions and interrogate and to ensure that the vaccines are delivered. So we are waiting for the leadership of the Health Committee to give us direction as to whether he will still come to the committee on that.
Dr. Sandari, pleasure talking to you. Grateful for your time with us on Midday Live. We've been speaking with Dr. Sebastian Sandari, who is a member of the Health Committee of Parliament, also an MP for Dafiama Bulsi Isa constituency. Let's still stay in Parliament and head to my colleague Komla Kluge, who is a parliamentary correspondent, for some live updates on proceedings in Parliament today, whether or not there's still conversations of the shortage of vaccines in the country. Komla, grateful for your time with us on Midday Live. You're in Parliament today. What has been the day like in Parliament?
Well, just a short while ago, the women marked International Women's Day. I mean, they weren't able to make a statement or mark the day because it coincided with President's State of the Nation address, but the Speaker, hearing the Second Deputy Speaker, that allowed them today to make the statement. And there's been contribution from various people on this. Some were asking for 50-50% equal representation when it comes to job seeking, when it comes to any other thing that's made available to the women and made available to the men as well. But beyond that, they have just started the second leg of the debate on the President's State of the Nation address. The Defense Minister has mounted the podium. He is given his address, or he's defending the President's State of the Nation. But I can tell you, I mean, just like expected, it's been sharply divided on the two lines. The NDC side is strongly averse to the position that the President is taking on the real state of the nation. They think it's not a true reflection of it, then that is woefully fake. On the side of the majority, they think that it was a true reflection and that the President has painted the true picture of the state of the nation. That's the line the debate on the state of the nation is beginning to toe. We'll have about 6 people doing the debate for today from both sides of the House.
That's it. So today we've seen the female members of Parliament on the back of International Women's Day, and then a debate on the State of the Nation's address. Is there any more we should expect going forward, maybe later in the day?
Well, it doesn't appear there's much to do apart from just the debate. The House itself is quite empty, especially members of the majority side. You know, the minority side, they have been summoned to be in the House at every material time, or be within the precincts of Parliament at every material time until the end of this month. This is a directive that came from the party itself, and to that extent, they have banned campaigning for constituencies that have sitting MPs, so they cannot be allowed to go outside of the precinct of the House until the end of this month. So they are here in their numbers, but the majority side, quite a few are here though.
Komla Kluge, thank you so much for joining us with those updates from Parliament. Now, what we know is the debate on the State of the Nation has begun already, and we're expecting about 6 members of Parliament to champion their debates in the House. My colleague Komla Kluge joined us all the way from Parliament there. Now, aspiring flag bearer of the opposition, the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, says he's not worried about party bigwigs or members of Parliament not following him. During a campaign tour to some constituencies in the Greater Accra region, Dr. Duffuor said his focus is on the grassroots and how to make them feel part of the party at all levels.
The tour took the team to Afienya in the Ningo Pram constituency. Later, the delegation moved to the Kpong Katamanso constituency. Dr. Kwabena Duffuor appealed to the delegates to vote for him to bring back hope to the party and the country as a whole. Dr. Kwabena Duffuor said his main concern is the grassroots of the NDC.
I'm focusing on the grassroots. There are pieces of grassroots people, are they? They are the ones I'm partnering with. This is a partnership between me and the grassroots. Their pieces are there. Why should I worry about them? We are together. I know them. Some of them are my friends. But for years, we have not focused on the grassroots development and empowerment. And the party was becoming weaker and weaker. That's what we are trying to do now. I want to believe that the MPs themselves know that it's a good policy, it's a good strategy. They should all come on board.
Now, away from politics, students of Tamale Technical University are protesting against management of the school over a 15% increment of school fees. The angry students earlier massed up at the school's administration block, preventing management from accessing the offices. They say they will boycott lectures until their concerns are addressed. Christopher Mwako was at the Tamale Technical University campus, is joining us for some more updates. Chris, pleasure talking to you here on Midday Live. How is the situation like at the university campus this afternoon? We're trying to connect to my colleague Christopher Mwako all the way from the campus of the University of the Tamale Technical University. Our students are protesting against management of the school over the 15% increment of school fees. The angry students, they massed up at the school, preventing lecturers also from accessing the offices and management of the school from accessing the offices at the administration block. Now, they say that they will boycott lectures until their concerns are addressed. We're speaking with Christopher Mwako when we're able to get in touch with him. But let's still stay in the northern sector of the country, because the Northern Region chapter of the Trade Union Congress of Ghana is urging government to fast-track the ratification of the International Labour Organization Convention 183 on maternity protection to extend the period of maternity leave to at least 14 weeks to give better protection to women and their babies. According to the TUC, the 12 weeks designated for maternity leave is not enough for the mothers to exclusively breastfeed their children.
At a short ceremony to celebrate International Women's Day, Vice Chairperson of the Trade Unions Congress of Ghana, Philomena Abasamson, indicated that some mothers are forced to go 6 weeks before and another 6 weeks after birth, which is not right.
With the exclusive breastfeeding, if you are giving them enough time, at least, they will have, by the time they will be resuming, we are saying at least 14 weeks. So it means we can do more. In some areas, they can even extend it to 3 months, 6 months, for the mother to get ample time for the baby.
She also called on government to accelerate the process towards the ratification of International Labour Organization Convention 190 on violence and harassment in the world of work.
There are lots of women going through all sorts of forms of violence. Sometimes it's even difficult for a woman to get a job. Some women have to go through certain uncalled situations to just even get a job. We have so many situations whereby women are maltreated in the world of work.
In a related development, Programs Manager at MIDA Ghana, Francis Esuman, wants government to invest more in women in agriculture to bridge the technological and credit gap.
Agriculture is mostly, undertaken in rural areas. You have women dwelling in rural areas to undertake agricultural production. When it comes to access to technology, they are the most disadvantaged. Most of our women are not literate, so they are not able to use them to benefit what they do. They are mostly disconnected to service providers or entities that offer these technologies to them.
You're watching Midday Live on TV3. My name is Noble Crosby, and we're going for a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories. Stay with us.
time is the day, and as you already know, when it comes to quality phones and accessories, but yet affordable, it's Franco Trading Enterprise. We are number one. We have television set from 24 inches to 65 inches, Franco air condition from 1.5 horsepower to 2.5 horsepower. We have mobile phones, iPhones, Nokia, Samsung, Huawei, Infinix, Alcatel, and accessories like phone protectors, phone covers, pen drive, hard drives. We have skilled personnel who will serve you as you wish. So look no further than Franco Trading Enterprise. Franco Trading Enterprise, the home of quality air condition, television, mobile phones, and accessories.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, just like Pep Guardiola style.
When someone beats the buzzer with a shot from the logo, like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponents and punching my waist to a knockout like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up, what makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to all the extensive highlights, analysis, and insights.
So do join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on 3FM 92.7 as we serve you the best sports buffet and most satisfying in the sports world. The 3 Sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in the sports world here on Sports Ultras.
Welcome to the world of Giovanni. Look, I've tried everything in this industry. I've tried singing.
Come on.
I actually tried dancing. Well, they say I'm not cut for it.
Yes or no? If your girlfriend make her know.
Finally, this is where we belong. And Jack.
No.
Well, we may not be good at dancing and singing, but trust us to bring to you the most captivating, fun-filled show every Friday here on TV3 with me, Giovanni, and the Showbiz 360.
Showbiz 360 now shows on Fridays at 9 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by Black Rock Honey Whiskey.
Betway.
What's your take on an ideal guy?
I'm attracted to sapiosexuals.
Oh, sapiosexuals? Cool.
The smart guys.
See, I am one.
What's your take for the constitutional review?
See, they are really disturbing. They are worrying. Review. Constitutional review. The call for a constitutional review is not a bad call.
Really?
At all. Especially in the light of the fact that some laws have outlived their usefulness.
It's just gentlemen. I think Afena-Gyan.
Afena-Gyan? Who doesn't know Afena-Gyan? Excellent footballer. Dangerous. Tactical.
There's this show on TV3. It's a music show. Mentor.
I like Mentor. See, my family watches Mentor. Everybody. Hey, see, everywhere Mentor.
Where edition?
Eh?
Where edition?
Mentor's gonna take you higher.
Don't be clueless. Stay on top of issues with 3news.com and tune in to Media General's radio platforms on the go using 3news.com.
It's about to get more sporty with a touch of super entertainment with your favorite stars.
Sometimes we play the Quitinge, the Chaskele, the football.
Who should I take? Tony Cruz?
Cruz?
Well, why?
While keeping you up to date with every trending issue in your world of sports on Warmer Plus.
But in comes Thomas Tuchel and everything changes.
And when he said he wanted to be better than me, I was happy.
Let's keep it more sporty and super entertaining.
Warm Up Plus now shows on Saturdays at 11 a.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Betway.
Welcome to the business segment of the bulletin. Over 400 containers filled with agrochemicals and poultry feed additives have been stuck at the Tema port as agro-input suppliers struggle to clear their goods over high import charges. The Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana disclosed to Through Business that about 120 stacked containers have since attracted heavy demurrage, creating another layer of cost for the suppliers.
Agro-imports used to have incentives that promoted chemical supplies to boost food production. However, the recently passed exemption law imposed a 5% total import levy while removing VAT on these imports. What looked like a relief, according to the agro-imports dealers, have rather increased their total import cost. The development the Chamber of Agribusiness says has resulted in hundreds of containers filled with supplies stuck at the port. The supplies include vaccines for livestock, poultry feed additives, and other vitamin supplements for aquatics. Anthony Morrison is Chief Executive of the Agribusiness Chamber.
One major headache facing all the agriculture input importers, be it livestock or crops, is the issue of the 5% total import levy. As we speak, for the past 1.5 months, over 400 containers, a lot of feed additives, and also agro inputs have been stuck at the harbour as we speak.
According to the Chamber, the agro-imports may expire if not cleared in time, resulting in farmers not getting adequate supplies or, at worst, getting them at a high cost.
We have tried our best to engage the Ministry and the Ministry of Finance to make sure that we find an amicable solution to this. But, you know, as it stands, the situation hasn't been resolved, and it will hamper on Ghana's food security drive.
According to the Chamber, this could be dire as some farmers have already reduced their acreage and others resort to orthodox methods.
Now, economist Professor Lord Mensah has advised the government to have contingencies as it would be difficult for Ghana to secure an IMF board approval for the bailout this month. The senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School said the outstanding issues are too many to be concluded in 3 weeks for the country to present the program to the IMF Executive Board.
Ghana is struggling with its worst economic crisis in decades. The government has secured a staff-level deal with the International Monetary Fund for a $3 billion loan, but approval is dependent on restructuring the country's debt of 575 billion cedis. A domestic debt restructuring has partially been completed, with the government confident of closing the external phase with creditors this month. President Akufo-Addo restated plans to present the program to the IMF board by the end of the month.
We are on course for the IMF staff to present to the IMF Executive Board Ghana's program request for a $3 billion extended credit facility by the end of this month.
But economist Professor Lord Mensah says the timeline is unrealistic, looking at the many outstanding issues.
I don't think, introducing, any revenue enhanced measure through taxes and other things will help the ordinary Ghanaian. And I believe that is what is holding it at the committee level in Parliament. So for me, the 1 month is quite political. I mean, it's not something that we can meet it.
Professor Lord Mensah urged the government to accommodate recommendations from creditors so they could accelerate the process for Ghana.
If you are in trouble and you need support, you may have to position yourself to receive that support. I don't think any country that wants to provide us help will help us looking at the structures. You see, government is being adamant in the sense that the structures that sent us to trouble, right? The structures that caused us to borrow more, the structures that caused us to, have our debt levels at a level where we cannot control. Why do you want to maintain the same structures?
Now, the Africa Center for Energy Policy is questioning the basis for which Aker Energy and AGM were giving preferential treatment over other firms. The two companies, according to ASAP, were allowed to dictate their terms in the oil industry to the disadvantage of others, including being allowed to violate the local content provisions. Executive Director of ASAP, Mbwachi, said the manner in which these two companies were tolerated must be investigated.
ACA came to Ghana with AGM. They've been able to remodel our laws to suit their needs. They came in, first of all, they said a block that Exploko and GNPC has significant interest. They didn't want Exploko on the block. So they went back to Parliament for the petroleum agreement to be amended to kick out Exploko. And we did that for them. We zero-rated the interest of Exploko about 24% and gave it to them for free. All right. At the same time, they said they didn't want to comply with our local content laws, which will allow them to use their own sourcing and alliances to deliver the project. You know, the Ghana government yielded to it, passed a law to grant that to them. So essentially what they did was to water down on the regulatory powers of the Petroleum Commission and have their way in the industry the way they wanted to do.
Now, economist Courage Botti has advised the Bank of Ghana not to rush to reduce the policy rate, which is the rate at which commercial banks borrow from the central bank. The policy rate has reached all-time high as the Bank of Ghana increases the rate to fight inflation, which is also at a record high of 53%. Now, as the bank's Monetary Policy Committee meets later this month to discuss the health of the economy, some analysts have proposed to the Bank of Ghana to begin reducing the rate, but economist Courage Botti sees it differently.
In this window, we do not expect that there will be a lot of monetization of deficits because there is an IMF program pending. But the liquidity in the system is in itself a risk to the bank, inflation, and Bank of Ghana should be concerned. I understand with the sharp decline in T-bill rates, it would improve the Ghana reference rate and by extension the rate at which loans could be procured. That in itself, if you like, is a way of reducing cost of credit and probably increasing lending if the banks are minded. So there are a lot of risks there to inflation which the Bank of Ghana need to be cautious about. And that is why my expectation will be that they will maintain their cautious and potentially even increasing the policy rate again, even despite the fact that we've seen some 50 basis point drop in inflation. Of course, there are upside risks to that inflation trend, but that momentum, we could just be close to, if you like, the peak of inflation, really. But I think with the liquidity risk in the system, they could even go as far as adopting or deploying some unorthodox measures to control inflation, including even reversing some of the interventions they gave.
Now, still in business news, market watcher Kojo Lech has predicted some sustained demand for the dollar until the end of April, acknowledging that the cedi has some slight appreciation in the beginning of the week. Kojo says continuous offers of the dollar on the market is a cycle event at the beginning of every first quarter. He spoke to 3 Business.
Demand on the whole had, dwindled from last week up to this week. So we had quite a number of offers for dollar on the market. On Wednesday, we closed the dollar cedi around 12.15 bids, 12.35 offers. Yesterday, the market opened quite low, around the 12.20 levels. Just around midday, we saw that the dollar cedi had risen to around 12.40, 12.60 levels. This is obviously due to increased demand. So obviously, pricing becomes an issue when there's a lot of demand for dollar. We're in the last month for the first quarter this year, and it's a cyclical thing. It's expected that demand for dollar would steadily, ramp up till the first month of quarter 2.
Well, that's your business. Sports News is coming up next, right after this.
We are on a mission promoting access to quality health and education through the power of our media space.
For the leaders,
Since 2014, we have made great impact. TV3 mission now drives Ghana's quest to break barriers and provide access to inclusive and quality girls' education. Together with women's maternal health services, our mission to address the needs of the socially excluded has won the admiration of many. Indeed, TV3 Mission gets you the results. Mission is live on TV3 News 360 every Saturday and Sunday. Supported by Star Ghana Foundation, with thanks to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office.
Big up, family dance. Big up, you. I like it with the attitude.
Date with all the amazing contestants on the Bigo Family Dance as they display some rich, diverse dance moves in a quest to celebrate Ghana's 66th independence anniversary. Who are you rooting for to emerge as the family of the week? Catch all the fun and excitement this Saturday at 8 p.m. only on TV3. Bigo Family Dance. Big up your moves.
Bigo Family Dance shows Saturdays at 8 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by Bigo Drinks.
An experience is about to hit you.
Ghana, are you ready?
I'm Marina.
People they show me support. LBC or Beme Dami, maybe a born abroad.
They auditioned, the judges loved them, and now it's time for you to experience their talents.
One stage hosting great talents from all over the country.
Talents?
Check.
Hosts?
Check, check.
Judges?
Check. Check. Check.
It's the 14th edition of Talented Kids, the very best weekly show every Sunday, right here on TV3 at 4 p.m.
Remember to vote for your favorite contestant by dialing *713*13# or simply download the TV3 reality app. Talented Kids,
free to play!
Talented Kids shows on TV3 every Sunday at 4 p.m.
Powered by Indomie. Sponsored by Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, Cowbell, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Insecticide Spray, Enapa Mackerel, Kiki Juice Drink, Flora Tissues, Top Choco.
Are you a bomber? Yes or no? If you're your girlfriend, make her know. Boys, we go carry. Go.
That's right, Gate Rush, everyone. It's been 13 weeks of love, drama, love, sweet fun moments, exciting moments, thrilling, intriguing moments here, and a little bit of heartbreak.
Baby,
and now the reunion is on TV3, Studio B. This Sunday, 12th of March, at exactly 8 p.m., my ladies are coming back, of course with their dates. Want to find out from them how things have been. I also want to see who is taking this the next level. I can't wait for that dondo, and I'm sure you can't wait as well. 8 p.m. Sunday, 12th of March, it is a date on Date Rush.
Date Rush is sponsored by
Rush Energy Drink,
Airtel Tigo, Sense Body Spray,
Duffy's Health and Beauty, Pepsodent Herbal,
Geisha,
Obuasi Bitters,
Remy Spices, Give Us Herbal Mixture,
Carnival Strawberry, Forever Clear, Acne Control Range and Multi-Fruits.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Sports News is up next with Numo Kevin Oswansa. What do you have for us, Kevin?
Well, you know, Ghana football almost in crisis, and attendance at our various stadiums very low. So we've taken it upon ourselves to start the campaign and at least begin a research as to what is actually wrong and then get our football back.
That'll be interesting to know. Take us away.
Well, on to our first story. For sports this afternoon, fans are the main drivers in every sport, and without them, there will be little or no development. There has been a public concern in recent times regarding the low attendance of football fans during Ghana Premier League matches. A revival is needed to make sure that the sport is safe. Here is a report on more. The poor patronage of the Ghana Premier League in recent years has hit a crescendo. Few venues are able to have appreciable numbers. The rivalry between Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko is the biggest in Ghana football. It is the fixture that has always gotten the buzz and sent spectators to the stadium. On Sunday, when the two teams converged to play in the President's Cup, attendance hit a new low. Over the last few seasons, the fixture has suffered. According to the National Sports Authority, only 4,370 tickets had been purchased before the gates were open for free admission. Not even the President's presence could fill up the stadium. For several people, the local game is not as enticing as it used to.
We have failed to invest in the game over the years. When player exodus started, when our players started traveling abroad, I think we took things for granted. We were doing the same thing, expecting a different results, and that is what we are seeing today. Kotoko Hearts match that doubles as a league game and a President Cup game. Look at the atmosphere, very dull.
From the betting scandal, it damaged the product. Football is held to that high level because of our ability to tell you that, look, we don't know the result, the uncertainty in the result. And when people go to the stadium and they are going, they know the results and it happens the way they've been told. It's painful. And our fans are no more football fans. They are investors. They are stakeholders in a different form whose satisfaction from the game is not just the win their teams get, but the fact that they get economic results.
High performance specialist for FIFA, Faisal Chipsa says one of the contributing factors is lack of quality in the general play.
Better educators, better coaches, is better players. And if we are not producing the best of coaches here, I don't think we can produce the best of players. And you can tell we have a coaching problem for sure. So that's where the focus should be. You know, it shouldn't just be organizing courses and charging for coaches to come, because we all know the best coaches may not have the funds to attend. So how can we make coach education easily accessible to most people, especially in the grassroots and the foundation level, so they can teach the right skills to the players?
Football fans, it costs too much to consume the product they are being served.
Moderate charges, everybody will come. But when you are charging this money and the people don't have the money, what will they do? They'll stay at home.
The president of the GFA, Keto Krako, has charged the clubs to galvanize support for their games as a responsibility. Calls have been made for strategies to be taken on how to attract spectators to the various stadia.
The earlier the Youth and Sports Ministry, the arm of government that oversees our football, join hands with the GFA to commission a scientific research into why people are not coming to the stadium, the better. Everybody is now doing guesswork, people trying to do guesswork. Let's find a scientific basis for why they are not coming and take action immediately.
The situation is a damning indictment on the current state of Ghana football, and football in the country can rise again once these issues are fixed. Hopefully, they will be fixed in the next couple of months. Now, moving on to the Europa League, and Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta wants to see an immediate improvement in the way Arsenal defend after his side of the round of 16 in the Europa League last night.
I said that when you concede two poor goals like we did today away from home in Europe, very difficult to get a very positive result that we expected. I think the game had different phases, especially because we gave too many balls away, too many simple balls in our own half, and we gave them hope and we gave them capacity to have these transition moments which they are good at. And in other moments we have total control of the game, but we lost a little bit of threat today, especially with the 4 players that we are missing in our front line. So some positive, because we showed again a lot of resilience to get back on the game, but we need to defend our box much better, and we're going to have to be better in the return leg to beat them.
Well, that will be all for sports this afternoon on Medal Live Entertainment News with Adjuan Weller. Next.
Good afternoon. Let's do some entertainment updates here on Midday Live. My name for today is Nakloko Noella. And so in the spirit of celebrating Ghana Month, we are taking a look at the state of some of Ghana's popular movie cinemas. One of them, the Roxy Cinema in Adabraka, which used to attract hundreds of moviegoers, is now in a sorry state. Owusu Orai took a tour to the abandoned cinema and reports the entertainment facility has sadly been taken over by squatters and turned into a refuse collection point.
In decades gone by, cinemas were central to the growth of entertainment in Ghana. Accra could boast of a number of well-patronized cinemas then, the likes of Rex, Globe, Orion, Opera, Royal, Oxford, Orbit, Casino, Vision 66, Plaza and Palladium cinemas. All in Accra aired movies and musicals on weekends and weekdays. These spaces attracted hundreds of movie enthusiasts who joined long queues to watch major blockbusters. Standing proudly along the Circle at Adabraka Road on the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue, the Roxy Cinema served moviegoers in the late 80s and 90s. Uncle Sam, a native of Adabraka, recalls the glory days of the Roxy Cinema.
It was one of the #1 cinemas in Accra. On weekends, they bring new movies. So we normally come here to satisfy ourselves with the movies. Before you come to the cinema, you have to form a long queue and then join it. And then there were other guards who were gardeners, policemen and so on. They were caning us and so on. So every time, people were rushing too much. There were a whole lot of people, crowd. You can't believe it.
During those days, we were having the nice movies. Chinese movies, Indian movies, Love in Tokyo, 5 Shaolin Masters, Disciples of Shaolin, Guantanamo Buddha Show, The Drunken Master. Whenever there's going to be a very big movie, people even bring drums, percussions, coming to support the Broma, the so-called Broma. People pay tickets. Some also want to cross the line. They want to go and catch early seats in first so they can watch the movie very well.
67-year-old Lime, aka Yai, grew up in Adabraka and used to frequent Roxy.
We used to come here night, when we buy food dress, we come to Roxy, with our guests and everything, I'm worried because it's not functioning. It's not functioning. When you enter the place now, Charlie, when you see Charlie, everything, Charlie, Basa, something.
The once grand and imposing cinema, a timeless heritage, the pride of Adabraka, the Roxy Cinema has turned into an abandoned building, attracting squatters and engulfed in filth.
This was where the movie was showing. You could see or find a lot of people seated here, actually having a good time watching all the beautiful movies then. But now the place has been taken over by squatters. And so when you come here, the place looks messy, and it's something people in the community who have experienced the place before are not so excited about.
Renowned Ghanaian movie producer Socrates Safo used to screen his films at this venue in the 90s.
I've personally taken a tour to some of the centers. Don't blame the owners. The owners of the cinema halls did the right thing. It would be stupid of any owner of a cinema hall to still keep it in waiting for producers to be sensible enough to bring their films. The captains were having, I think, about 7 cinema halls scattered around Accra. And they employ cleaners, managers, operators, security men and all that. Every month they pay them. And the producers who were supposed to bring their films to them to show, to make money to cover these costs, have given the films free to TV stations. And people are watching at the TV stations, and you expect Captain to keep paying these costs. Does it make sense? They are not the producers of the movies. They have built the place for you to come and let's do business. And you have decided to give the film free, and you are not making anything out of it. What should they do? So it is right to cut costs.
It remains the wish of the folks in Adabraka and other stakeholders in the entertainment industry that the iconic venue is restored to serve the community.
All the benches there should be clear up. So use that place as a recreational center. That will boost the place again.
Now, there are people in it who doesn't make any impact on the economy. We want the place to be revived so that many people will have job in it.
Quite unfortunate there, but onto some more stories. Renowned music producer Fred Che Mensah has said Ghana's first Prime Minister, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was passionate about growing the creative arts space and invested heavily to export Ghanaian music and culture to the world.
Or sojourn abroad, where he also got in contact with a lot of the foreign musicians who were at that time in the 30s performing alongside. He had that kind of vision that for a country to survive and then for a country to come to a certain pedestal, they need the creative art space to also join in the fray. So that's why in his wisdom and that of the British, they established the Ghana film industry. That was where most of the music were produced, films were shot for them to be distributed to the local station, that was GBC or Ghana Television, for them to show it to the world. So Nkrumah really had that kind of idea of the love for the creative arts, to the extent that most of the musicians that were in Ghana, I understand Uhuru Dance Band, almost everything that he goes, he takes them along for them to showcase the Ghanaian culture into the foreign, countries. So he really loved the creative space. That's why places like the Art Center and a whole lot of things, all these places were created for people to have fun and then bring out the Ghanaian culture in terms of our music exponents to bear on the populace. So Nkrumah really had a very, very positive impact in the area of music production and our high life component.
And that's it for the entertainment segment here on Midday Live. My name again for today is Nakloko Noella. Over to you, Crosby.
Now, thank you so much for bringing us the latest in entertainment. So let's bring you some international news now. Well, Xi Jinping has secured a precedent-breaking third term as president of China on Friday during a parliamentary session in which he tightened his control of the world's second largest economy. Nearly 3,000 members of China's rubber-stamp parliament, the National People's Congress, voted unanimously in the Great Hall of the People for the 69-year-old in an election in which there was no other candidate. Now, Xi has taken China on a more authoritarian path since assuming control a decade ago. Domestically, China faces a challenging recovery from 3 years of Xi's zero-COVID policy, fragile confidence among consumers and businesses, and weak demand for China's exports. Xi Jinping's term extension for another 5-year term comes amid increasingly adversarial relations with the U.S. and its allies over Taiwan. Now, Beijing is backing off Russia, trade and human rights. Now, reminded that reigning GMB Queen Taya is expected to launch her project tomorrow, and we're bringing you some updates from that development. But that's how we wrap up on Midday Live here on TV3. My name is Noble Crosby, and there's more news on our website, 3news.com. Please log on for more. And we're still in the Ghana month, but for now, my name is Noble Crosby, and good afternoon. Bye-bye.